Hi mommies, this is Tanya, Noor's mom. So today I'm going to be speaking to you all about the utensils or cutlery that you need for your baby's weaning or solids journey. So sometimes we don't realize, but using a wrong kind of spoon or a bowl can actually cause obstacles in this journey and might lead to the child not be interested in mealtime. So first, let's talk about the material of utensils that you need. So ideally, whatever cutlery or utensil you use should be BPA free, BPS free, phthalate free, chemical free and lead free. Ideally, what is recommended is that the utensils or cutlery should be made with food grade silicone or BPA free plastic. What about metals? So in India, steel or silver. Giving babies food in steel or silver is kind of a tradition also. So I personally recommend not using steel or silver spoons till at least 1 year because they are a little hard on the edges and they can hurt the baby's mouth. But a steel katori, a steel plate, silver katori, silver plate, all of them can be used easily and in fact are a healthy way to serve food to your baby. But in order to make your baby's weaning journey very enjoyable, then I recommend using food grade silicone or BPA free plastic, colorful cutlery and utensils that make the whole experience very fun. So first let's start with traditional weaning. So in case you're doing traditional weaning, that means you are feeding the baby with a spoon. So when you start, what do you need? You actually need just a spoon and a bowl. Now what is the kind of a spoon that you need? So you need a spoon that is number one long. So whenever you are feeding food to the baby, the spoon should be long so that it is easy for the parent to feed the baby from a distance like this, and also to dip in the puree jar or the mashed food jar. Second, the tip of the spoon should be very soft and should have soft rounded edges. There shouldn't be any rough edges, no hard edges, so that it doesn't hurt the baby's teething gums or inflamed gums. And even if the child wants to chew on the spoon's tip, it is very comforting and a very pleasant experience for him. Now, please note that whenever you're starting traditional weaning, the bowl of the spoon, this part where we put the food, it should not be very deep. It should be shallow so that when you put food here and give it to the baby can easily get the food out and he doesn't have to make a lot of effort to scoop, because babies don't know how to do this. They will just do this like this. So in case the bowl is very deep, the food will be inside and the child will not be able to eat it. So all you need to look for is long spoon which is soft, light, soft edges, no hard edges, no sharp edges also, and it should have a shallow base or a pool. So you know, one example is this, another example is this. Can you see how shallow this is? And it is long also, and it is colorful also because colors attract children. This is another spoon. The bowl is a little deeper than this, right? But this is also an option. Then this is another option. This is from Baby Hug. See how flat the spoon is. So these are the best spoons to start with. Now what spoons not to start with? So something like this. Even though it's long, can you see how deep this is? And how big this whole bowl is? The baby's mouth is so small. How do you expect this whole area to fit into the baby's mouth? This is as big as, you know, it would go in an adult's mouth. So something like this is not recommended. Now this is another spoon. No doubt it has a silicone tip. It is very soft. It is long also, but not as long as those. But it is very deep. Very deep. So the child cannot scoop from this. So do not go for these spoons until your baby is around 10 months old and he has practice of scooping food from spoons. So I'll give you another example. Look at this spoon. Such a big base here. Babies cannot take this in their mouth and they cannot scoop. So this is not a good first starting spoon for your child. Now, another thing that I'll tell you is that when you're starting, you should ideally be starting with the heat sensitive spoons. So these are heat sensitive spoons. That means that when you put the food in this, if it's too hot, they will turn white in color. So that you know that the food is too hot and it might burn the child's mouth. So when you are just starting weaning and your child is very, very small, and even you are inexperienced parents and you don't know which is the right temperature for your child, then I recommend starting with these spoons, heat sensitive spoons, which change color, and then later on, when you know after 2-3 months the kind of temperature that the baby likes, then you can move on to normal spoons. Till 8th months or so, you can go with these heat sensitive spoons. So these ones I'm using from Munchkin. They are great. I love them. They come in various colors and they're very colorful. And then around 8 months, you can move to these spoons. So these are also from Munchkin, and they are once again long. So these are not heat sensitive spoons, but they have a slightly deeper bowl. So just to give the baby practice of scooping food from spoons, these spoons are good. They also come in a lot of attractive colors and really are fun for your baby's weaning journey. So you can continue with these spoons for a year or even till the time you are feeding your baby and the baby is not feeding himself. Let's come to bowls. So when you're starting and you're practicing traditional weaning, you are feeding the baby, right? The baby just has to open his mouth and take the spoon and take the food. So it really doesn't matter which bowl or plate or any other thing that you're using. So you can use your normal silver cutlery, steel plate, silver plate at home, usual things, glass that you're using at home, or you can even use plastic, BPA free, food grade, safe for kids, plastic bowls like these which have lids, which can later be used for storage also, and they are colorful also. Or you can use these small pots, something like this. So this is from Mothercare. So these are freezer pots. You can even freeze food in this later. So you can use any kind of bowl basically. And use your Borosil airtight containers, Tupperware, anything that's there. Don't really, think about the bowls, because the child has nothing to do with the bowls. The child just has to take food from the spoon. So this is what you need when you're starting with traditional weaning. Regarding plates, no, you don't need any plates right now. Plates come into picture when the baby starts feeding himself, right? So no plates right now. Please note that if you are starting weaning, I do not recommend those squeezy kind of food feeders where you can fill the food and just squeeze it and the food will come out. They're of no use, to be honest, because you're sitting at home. You can just scoop out food from a cutlery and feed it to your child. Why take this pain of filling puree into that feeder and then squeezing it and giving it? Baby should be used to seeing a bowl and a spoon and understanding and seeing you scoop out, because later on he is actually going to do this himself. So don't use those feeders. Keep those feeders for traveling purposes, but I don't recommend them using for daily purposes, because you're not teaching the child anything. So then when you further progress into traditional weaning and around 9th or 10th month mark, when your baby starts developing his pincer grasp and he shows a lot of interest in picking up food and eating himself, then you can start encouraging self-feeding. So initially let your baby practice eating with his hands only, picking up and eating, because they are learning the hand to mouth coordination, which is very important. Later on, around a year, I would recommend that you start with a spoon and slowly go on to a fork. So now, which spoon should you start with when you're starting with self-feeding? So I highly recommend a pre-spoon. Now what is a pre-spoon? So this is what a pre-spoon looks like. Can you see? This is a flat-headed spoon. There is no shallow base here, nothing. It is made of silicone and it is flat and there is some kind of texture inside this. So now this has been specifically designed to encourage babies to move towards self-feeding. So this is from Chic Buddy, can be found on my Amazon store. But there's another brand which is a better version of this called Num Num Pre-Spoon. And you can either go with that, but that's a little expensive because it's imported into India. But this is readily available, cheaper. So what it does is that you can give any kind of puree, mashed food, khichdi, porridge, and when you dip it in it, the food gets stuck inside this. So all the child needs to do is dip it and put it in his mouth and take it off. He doesn't have to scoop it, because scooping it on his own is another skill that will come with time. So the first step is that he needs to learn to dip it and put it in his mouth. So this is a great spoon to start with. I highly recommend this. And this is also made of silicone, so very soft and good for teething also. And note that whenever we move towards self-feeding, the size or the length of the handle, it reduces. Earlier we were using such long spoons. Now we are using shorter handles so that it is easy for the baby to grip it. So you start with this at around 12 months, and then when the baby learns how to use this, then this comes in a set. You can move to this spoon. This is a normal spoon again with a shallow base but grippable handles and easy for the child to scoop. So you can move to this. So this is very, very important, and by 18 months or 20 months of age, your baby will learn how to eat with a spoon. So there is another option that you can use. So this is another spoon for self-feeding, to start self-feeding. This is from a baby cherry, available on my Amazon storefront. It comes in a set. But yeah, you start with a spoon. Now once again, it is very, very small and the child can easily scoop the food. But I prefer the earlier spoon more. And this is for even smaller babies. So if you're starting self-feeding less than 1, then I would recommend this. Now regarding forks. So when can you start with a fork? So once your child is around 15 months old and he knows somewhat how to eat from a spoon himself, then you can move towards a fork. So you can start with a fork like this. This is again from a baby cherry. Small fork, easy to grip handles, small sized, and can easily go into fruits. So fruits is a great thing to practice with forks, or pancakes, dosa, chila. So you can go with this. Or and once the baby is comfortable with using a fork, then you can go for proper metal steel cutlery. So this comes from Hop Hop, and they have a spoon and a fork. So what you need to be mindful of is whenever you are going and buying metal cutlery, steel cutlery, it should, number one, be very, it should have rounded edges, should not have any rough edges, and the handle below should be grippable. It should be chunky and easily holdable, large handle, so that it is easy to scoop for the child. And same with their fork. So whenever we give forks to our babies, we should see that their tines, these are called tines, they are big and large. They are not very, very small like the forks we use, so that it is easier for the child to poke it into food and eat. So this is all that you need in self-feeding. Now whenever you start self-feeding, and if it is before 1 year, around 9 or 10 months, children have a tendency to throw away bowls or plates or things like that. So the ideal way to go the ideal way to go through that is that initially when you start giving babies food on their high chair, you just put it on the tray. You don't need to give any plates or bowls, because the child will just throw it. But in case the baby has progressed a little, or you don't have a high chair, or you're in a setting where there is no tray where you can keep this, then comes suction bowls or suction plates. So like I said, plates only are beneficial when the child starts feeding himself. So if the baby is less than 15 months then, and you are self-feeding, then you should go for suction plates or bowls. So there are various ones available in the market. So like this one, it has a suction. This is from Beaba. This is pretty expensive, but the suction is good. This one is Munchkin. This is also a divider plate, but the suction is not as good, but it is more affordable. You can go with this. Or this is my favorite. This is the Miniware suction plate. So this suction base, it can even come off like this if you don't want to use the suction. And even this divider will come off. So it can be used as a normal plate later on. So this has a very, very good suction. So, you know, this can be used. And another option is the easy peasy suction plates. So those also have very good suction. So you can go with that. And if you don't want to give plates, if you're moving towards bowls, then again, you know, there is the Beaba suction bowl available on Amazon. Beaba is available on Amazon. This is the suction bowl, and this is made of silicone. So I usually use this and I really like this. Then there are Munchkin suction bowls also, but once again the suction is not as good, but it is relatively okay. So, and they're more affordable also. And the one which has good suction is the Miniware bowl. So this has a lid also, and this has this suction here which can be removed if you don't want to use the suction. So this has a great suction. This can be found on their website also, or even on Amazon. So this is a great option. And the last option is the easy peasy suction bowls. So only go for these suction plates and bowls when you're starting out and the baby is in a phase of throwing everything. But you know, if you are starting self-feeding later, around 15-18 months of age, that time you know, the child has become more aware and he's not that much of an explorer. Or if your baby is already used to self-feeding, then you can just use normal plates and bowls that are available at your house. Steel, silver, plastic, melamine, or just basic colorful things. So I use these plates now for Noor, that she's 18 months. These are basic plastic plates. These are from Ikea. They come in various colors and are pretty cheap. So, and this has this kind of rim also here so that the food doesn't come off. So this is what I use. And similarly, I use these bowls for her to serve her murmura or fruits. These are also from Ikea, available on Amazon. Come in various colors, which keeps the baby attractive. So that's about it. Hope this video was helpful. Keep writing. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.